What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin. How you been doing? So as you can see, the car is still under the cover. We're really coming to the year is done. My first thought is this year has been a really great year for me. You know, my YouTube has grown quite a bit this last year. I've been trying to put out, you know, a lot of different type of videos, such as this one. I wanted to say how much I appreciate you guys' support. You know, if you can, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment. That stuff really goes a long way to helping me grow the channel. And, you know, I don't really do this for money. I don't, you know, think, man, I got to get a video out today. You know, I do it because I like to, and I do it because I like to help other people who have questions, such as probably the most popular common question I see is, hey man, I just got a Cobra. I want to make 500 wheel, or I want to make 700 wheel. And usually I type all these answers out, or I send them to the Pullied to Whipple video. Man, that latest cut of the video is over an hour long. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link in the description. You know, if you got some time, that's a really great video. It shows everything I've done in the car for basically the last 10 years. But the purpose of this video is I wanted to give an exact kind of my opinion of what I think if you're looking for 500 wheel or you're looking for 700 wheel, and what I would do and what I've learned and what worked and what didn't. So you want to make 500 wheel. This is what I would do. So first step would be the ported stock supercharger. So you take the Eaton that's on the car. You can either buy a ported supercharger. I think I bought mine for 600 bucks back in the day. Or you can send it off to a porter, somebody who will port it for you, or you can even learn how to port it yourself. I personally didn't do that, but I had a few friends that did, and it's really not that complex. So the start is the ported supercharger. You're gonna probably wanna run a 2.76 upper. You're gonna wanna put in a mass airflow meter. Now look, you could probably run the stock MAF up to 500. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would just get the BA 2600. You're going to want to do some fuel work. Now look, again, you can run the stock fuel setup. I personally wouldn't recommend it. What I would do is the Ford GT supercar pumps. That's what I did back in the day. And some 60-pound injectors. That will probably get you, well, honestly, that system will kind of get you almost a 700 wheel. But, you know, I've now redone my fuel system 3 times, and every time you do your fuel system, you say, okay, I'm good. Well, it's always better to just do it once. That would be my recommendation. And really, the only else thing you need is a Catback, and maybe you want some high flow cats, or, you know, you can run an off-road X pipe or H pipe if that's what you like. You know, get rid of the cats. That's really all you need. You could put in a heat exchanger, which is what cools the supercharger fluid up front. I personally ran a Fluidine. I know AFCO makes one. There's probably a few manufacturers. They're all really good stuff. And it's really as simple as that. You just do the blower with the upper pulley, a little bit of fuel work, mass airflow meter, Catback exhaust, and that's really it. You know, in 93 octane, you'll get right to where you want to be with your fuel system. I mean, with that fuel system, you'll get to right where you want to be with the power. And I'll put in the video of what my car made back on the day. I think it made 478 on that work, and you know, that's on the lower end. I've seen cars make 520 on the same mods. My car's always kind of been, well, before the cams, was always on the lower end. But let's say 500 wheel is not enough. you want 700. Well, 700 is actually, again, really easy for these cars. Now, it's worth noting that, again, these are just my opinions. I am not sponsored by anybody. I'm not paid by anybody. I'm not getting any financial benefit from recommending these companies. This is just what I've experienced, whether it be on the forums, on Facebook, talking to my tuner, my mechanic. Brands that I find work really well. You may have other experiences or other opinions, and that's fine. If you're looking for 700, the recipe's pretty easy nowadays. Just Whipple it. You know, I know the TVS is a good option. I know the Kenny Bell is, again, a great option. And yes, I'm biased. I've bought 3 Whipples now. But they just seem to work the best. That's my opinion. That's not fact. That's just my opinion. What I would do is either you can buy a used 2.9 Gen 2. I used to have a Gen 2. And then I went to the Gen 4. You don't really need a crusher. You could buy any standard Gen 2, Gen 3, or Gen 4 that you would happen to find new or used. Your fuel. Now, you could run the GT Supercar pumps with the 60-pound injectors. I ran that with my first Whipple, and I maxed it out on the dyno. I'll put the video in here next. I maxed out the fuel system right at 700 wheel. Now, we could have tweaked it to make it safe, but my tuner said, look, man, you got to go to a return fuel system. And that's really the next step is, if you're going to do the Whipple, I'd just recommend at the same time, do the return fuel system. The basics of the factory system is there's one feed line from the tank up to the engine, and then it regulates the fuel pump voltage to match the fuel consumption of the setup. So as the consumption goes up, the voltage goes up. As you know, you're just putting along, the voltage goes down. And that system works okay, but there are definitely some drawbacks to it. The real fuel system you want, the bulletproof fuel system, would be what you can do some research on this. It's called a return fuel system. The difference of the return system is you have 2 pumps, or sometimes 3, and instead of varying the voltage, the pumps actually run 100% full throttle, wide open throttle at all times. It pumps the fluid up. Whatever gas is not needed then gets pumped back to the tank, and it just repeats that process. Tuners will tell you it's probably easier to tune that setup, and you know, you can, depending on how crazy you go with the injectors, you can probably make 1,400 wheel with a fuel setup of that. So if you had the 2.9, you wanted to make, you know, 700 or a little bit more, or you wanted to run E85, you got to do the return system. My recommendations would be you take the Walbro 465 pumps. You only need 2 of them. Put the ID 1000 injectors, and just the feed and return line, and then you have to route the fuel lines. And you know, it's definitely not the easiest work in the world, but it's not super complicated. So you got the blower, you got the fuel, clutch. You know, if you're just on a ported supercharger, stock clutch is fine. Even if you go to the Whipple, the clutch isn't a super necessity right away. I actually had a friend, my local friend, he's the one with the Whipple black Cobra. The stock clutch will last for some time, depending on your car's history or how you drive the car. I put in an McLeod RXT. I would 100% recommend that clutch. It drives really nice. The pedal is light. I would do that clutch with the 26 spline input shaft. And that's really all you need to hit your goal of 700. You know, if you're going to be over 20 PSI, I'd recommend running Torco or do whatever your tuner says. You know, the last thing you want to do is start arguing with your tuner. If he tells you run pump gas, you run pump gas. If he tells you to put some Torco in it, you put Torco in it. You honestly, you just do whatever he says, but that's just my recommendations. You know, I'll put in the video. I think, again, my car made just about 700 with the 2.9. You know, you don't need something crazy. You know, these cars, you know, truly are bulletproof if you treat them right. You know, there's always a couple no-nos with these cars, such as wide open pulls and, you know, 5th and 6th gear, especially 6th. If you're taking it and, you know, topping it at 180, you're going to melt a piston. That's just what's going to happen. But if you treat them right and you do the right things to them, you can live over 900 probably for the next 10 years. Knock on wood. But that's about it, guys. I hope this video solves a few people's questions. And like I said, I do appreciate your support. And that's about it, guys. Stay safe. Take care.